Welcome to Flights, the podcast where we uncork the secrets to running a successful destination wedding and group travel business. Each episode, we will explore the good, bad, and ugly of destination weddings while sipping on the finest wines from our pantries.
As your hosts, we believe in savoring the journey with a glass of wine in hand. Join us, Mario Lopez and Ashley Morris of Destination Wedding University, as we explore all of the adventures and misadventures that we experience in this crazy industry.
Hello. All right. Welcome to Flights Season 2, Episode 5, I believe.
I think.
Yeah.
I
We're in
think.
Season 2. We know that. That's. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. So we have a guest speaker today. We have Mary Beth with us. Thank you for joining us, Mary Beth.
Absolutely. I'm super excited to be here. Thanks for
And it's her birthday. She's taking time out of her birthday to come hang with us. So, of course, there were drinks right away.
Yep.
Here we go. She's going to have a fun day because we're recording this at like 10 a.m. or 11 a.m.
Yeah. I'm now going to go to the park with my niece and nephew and have had wine beforehand.
Great family day. The whole family day. This is actually, I'm Eastern time, so I'm technically afternoon. I feel like this is perfectly acceptable for a Friday afternoon for me. So
you're good.
You're
good. We're the degenerates. You're good. What are you guys drinking?
Okay, so I today am drinking a Brothers Miller Cab. And I was telling Mary Beth, yes, I did bring the entire bottle upstairs with me. We all know what's going to happen with that bottle during this recording. So let's just not pretend.
Both with the red.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mine is, I don't know if this is embarrassing or just comical, but 2 minutes before this started, I realized, crap, it's Flights. I need wine. I had to run downstairs. And thankfully on Wednesday, it was like day 2 of we do in-person like training with agents from 9 to 5. So I essentially talk for 8 hours.
Yeah.
It's very exhausting. By the end, I'm like the most dead person ever. I hate cooking anyways, so it's always like we're going out to eat. There's no question. We just so happened to pick an Italian restaurant that has 50% off the wine on Wednesdays.
Oh, where is that?
Johnny Cascone's.
Oh, nice. So Mary Beth and I live about an hour apart from each other, and that might be worth the trip. The next time I see you, it's going to be a Wednesday.
Yeah, you should come up on a Wednesday. It's 50% off all day, so we could do lunch with wine.
Oh, I like this plan. We definitely need to make it a Wednesday.
So
I think I'm going to buy up for a Wednesday.
We got the whole bottle because it was 50% off. And it was like, yes, please. Had multiple glasses. There was enough left for one. So it was perfect for this morning.
There you go.
That would have been on multiple bottles.
I was so tired I couldn't do multiple bottles. Robbie kept me, are you okay? You're drinking it really slow. And I was like, I'm just so tired.
See, you said 50% off. You said 50% off a bottle. I heard 2 for 1. That's the way that my brain works. Smarter. Yeah.
That's how we ended up with a podcast that has a wine theme to it. So it's on that note. So we are going to be talking about assistance today, and just a little bit about Mary Beth's journey in general. But before we get there, Mary Beth, tell us a little bit about your story, your journey in travel.
Yeah, so I was a hospitality and tourism grad in college. So I knew I wanted to be in the industry, but let's be real, when we first graduate college, most of us need like real money. And commission is real money, but it's also a very different way of living. And back then I didn't even know that fees were a thing. And I'm not even sure they really were much of a thing back then. So I had to get like, a normal job. My husband was finishing his master's, so I was paying the bills. So travel was not an option. And then after he had finished with school and was in a job for a little while, we got to the point where we were like, okay, we can do this now. I can move forward on what I want to do, because he was in a career by that point and everything in IT. And so we decided, I had a job in travel for a year that was actually underneath the county. And so I ran all of our day trips and regional trips. And within a year, I like doubled the program and all this stuff. And I was like, this is fun. I like it, but I was bored because I had already doubled it. And I was like, okay, there's only so much I can do here. So at that point we decided, okay, I have to have something else. So that's when I started your vacation plan because that county job was only 3 days a week. So I had time and loved it, was like spending my time on it. And the awesome thing was, like many of us, when you suddenly realize this is not like a part-time thing, this is actually a career.
Mm-hmm.
Careers and starting businesses takes money. Like it doesn't just happen with no cash. So we planned out that everything I made from my job went into the business so that we had really good cash flow starting out and everything. And things were going well. It was growing within like a year. I was like, I have to leave this job. There's no way I can do both, which was the goal, obviously. So then I left and was doing travel full time. And like I think many agents, unfortunately, I got caught in the spiral of I have more clients and more clients and more clients, which is great because I'm making more money and more money and more money, but I have less time and less time and less time. And I ended up in the 50 to 80-hour work weeks every single week and in the travel industry where I get to travel and everyone thinks my life is so cool, but I spend every single vacation working the whole time and
Yep.
not just site inspections. I'm talking like working. For our 5 year anniversary, we went to St. Lucia and we paid normal rates to stay in a butler suite, no agent rates, nothing. And I spent like 2 to 3 hours arguing with, I think it was Norwegian Cruise Lines about a transfer they screwed up. And I
Not
just
worth
remember
it.
my husband was, Robbie was so frustrated. He was like, why the heck are you doing this? It was like, I don't have a choice. There's no one else to do it. It has to get done. So it became really hard as time went on to the point where eventually one night we ended up sitting on the gold couch in our living room and talking, and my whole world just like fell apart, honestly. I remember like crying and literally seeing two versions of my life flash before my eyes where like one is I go this direction and I actually prioritize what's truly important to me and my family, my friends, my health, all the things that were suffering. And the other was going this way where I continued to be successful and grow my business and have all these career goals, but it would ruin everything else, is what it really came down to. Because at that point, I was like, let's be honest, when you start getting awards, it feels really good, right? Like it's like, oh yeah, I'm all that. Like I'm really great. I do everything. My clients love me and it feels nice, but it came at this really high cost of honestly almost ruining my marriage and multiple friendships and hurting lots of things that were truly important. And I just realized like this isn't worth it. Like
It's
I
so hard.
it
And I'm sure,
is.
well, and you said something that people, sorry, apparently Jack has opinions. I tried muting it. We're just gonna have to deal. It's so hard. And you said something when people think it's so glamorous, you always get that, oh, it must be nice. It must be nice to travel all the time. Oh, I love all these pretty places. I wish I could do that. And people don't realize it's like the duck in the water with the feet, paddling rapidly underneath. Like sometimes it's all we can do just to keep our lives afloat while we're in these beautiful places. It's still doing work. It's just in beautiful places.
Yeah, exactly. And it was nuts because when I made the decision that things had to change, we sat there and decided, okay, I had 6 months. So in 6 months, I had to go from 50 to 8 hours a week to close to 40 hours was our goal. It was like, if I
Okay.
can't get close to there, then we're going to shut this down. Obviously, I'm not going to not service the clients that are booked, but I wasn't going to take anything new. I was going to stop marketing, all of those types of things. And I did, but in the process of that, I learned two very important things. One was that having an assistant is absolutely life changing, and it did. Like, we hired Camille, and y'all, like, my hair, it's dyed. It's actually, this is really embarrassing. I can't believe I'm saying this on a podcast. It's actually 70% gray all over. I've been gray since I was 16.
Oh,
So,
wow.
Camille takes care of making sure that I get haircuts, but I got sick and so I had to cancel one of them.
Well, she gives you that time so you can take care of yourself, which I
Yeah.
think a
Well, she
lot of
also schedules
people,
it.
when you're building a business, those are the things that get pushed aside. And you've been so honest, and I appreciate you for that, of being honest of how it affected your relationships and how it affected your marriage, and even the simple things like taking care of yourself. Because let's be real, if you weren't making time for a haircut, you weren't like going to the doctor or eating well or exercising either.
Mm-mm.
Like it's just something that happens when we're trying to build these businesses from scratch.
And I wasn't Like I never went to the gym and worked out. I go to the gym almost every single day over my lunch now, but I could never have done that before.
Hmm.
But what was crazy is so an assistant, but then it also is systems, which, oh my gosh, the freaking bubbles. They
Yeah,
hate
I
me.
know those
I don't
bubble.
know how to turn them off or where they come from.
It's a setting that I will never be able to find the setting. It happens to Ashley all the time. It never happens to me. I think my short little chubby fingers, they don't actually count as like a thumbs up, so it doesn't come up. But it's
No.
But what
anyways.
I love is that like if you don't have you can have an assistant, but if you don't have systems, which like I remember when Will would talk about like, oh, these are the sexy systems. It's like it is. Like if you don't have sexy systems, you're screwed. Like
Yeah.
you end up with an assistant that you're like spoon feeding like a baby and it's not actually helping you that much because you're having to oversee and manage everything versus an assistant that you've given systems to and you've put in place so that they can self-manage and actually help you. And I just remember how he would like talk about that all the time. And I was always so excited about that. Some people are like, oh, I have to set up this workflow and all this stuff. And I'm like, yes, workflows. Give me more
Yeah,
workflows.
yeah, exactly. I think that was one of the most amazing things about stepping into my position in the company is, first of all, like in 2022, I got to learn about all these sexy systems and make sure that they are, as efficient as possible. And I got to improve some of them. And then in 23, that's everything went into practice, right? Like Will was already doing it, but I got to see now exactly where everything, creates efficiencies and why we're doing it. And the reason that we preach these things, it is because it makes your life manageable and because you're able to onboard these people so much easier than, if you were to, literally have them tag along on every little thing that you're doing, trying to get them to figure out what's going on.
Yeah. Well, I remember actually at the Casa de Campo retreat in, I guess it would have been 2022 when I met you.
Mhm.
I remember we were talking at one point and I got so excited because I remember calling or texting Robbie and being like, Robbie, Mario now works with Will. And here's the thing nobody gets. Mario is actually like the systematized like brain person and that's like making all this stuff actually happen behind the scenes. And I was like, and Will is like the bigger than life like personality that has the vision. But the reality is, as we were talking, I was like, Mario's making this crap happen. Even before you worked for Will, I could tell. And it was so fun because I was like, oh yeah, like I love that because the systems matter.
Yep, the systems matter. That's it. I don't want to take anything away from Will. He was such that's such a
Sorry,
visionary.
that's my dog.
He had the big ideas, right? But it was amazing to be able to take those and then put them into reality. So this will be a little bit of a tangent, but if anyone ever gets a chance to read it, it's one of those sales books. I know how everyone feels about sales books, but there's this
Mary
book.
Beth loves a sales book.
Yeah, there's this.
She's recommended so many good books to me.
Well, and if you haven't read this one yet, Mary Beth, I will buy it. I will send it to you. This book is called Rocket Fuel, and the entire book. No, you haven't. All right, done.
No,
I'm
I'm
sending
all
it.
for new books.
I'm sending it to you today. Trust me. So this is the entire reason I'm involved in the company. We read this book called Rocket Fuel, and the Rocket Fuel book is about the visionary and the integrator, and they're two different people. And if you find that magic, you get that a visionary integrator dynamic, it's rocket fuel to your business. And it is just it was, I mean, it was exactly what it said it would for Will and I. I mean, in 2022 we doubled the business. And so it was able to just find you have that person with the big ideas that's doing these things, and then you also have the integrator that's like, okay, let's take those ideas, weed them out, see if it actually works, and then put them into the business and get it moving, because the visionary is already on to three other things that they don't have time to implement these things, right?
Yeah.
It was definitely eye-opening experience for me. I'm buying it, I'm sending it to you. You will love it.
That's awesome. That's actually super fun because that honestly describes my husband Robbie and I. And he started working with me this year. I mean, working with me this year is a lame statement. He's been working with me the entire time. It was just after the 9 to 5, just like I'm sure you were.
Yeah, that's how it is, right? Your
Yeah.
spouse always helps you out. Even in corporate world, you're bouncing ideas off your spouse and things like that. And to be able to then formalize it is an amazing experience. And anyone who gets the chance to do it, I think it's stressful. Sometimes, because especially when you have two big personalities, I'm sure you guys are. Will and I were big personalities. There's clashing, right? But you manage it, and that that person's intention is coming from a good place to grow together, and you end up making a little bit of magic. It's wonderful.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
So now tell us a little bit about, you were finding your traction, you're talking about assistance. Tell us a little bit now about how we got to today, how your two businesses and how that kind of interflowed with each other, where that came from.
Yeah, so after I hired my first assistant and got my hours like down to 40 and everything, and we were like, okay, I can stay in the business. Yay, that's great. Um, then we started growing, and I had originally thought that like hiring an assistant was gonna like plateau my growth, and I'd just be like, yeah, I can maintain with an assistant. I was so wrong because it propelled my business forward like nothing else. And we started like in 2020 when everyone was like not selling, we grew by 28% that year, which is like
Good for
crazy. When I
you.
look back, I'm like, how the heck did we do that? But we had so many couples that were like, I don't care, I lost my wedding, I'm taking my honeymoon. Like, I was in Mexico June of 2020 because I had a
Mhm.
couple that in 2 weeks wanted to travel, and I wasn't about to let them go unless I had been and knew I could get home, kind
Mhm.
of thing. Just for me, conscience wise, I couldn't do it. So,
Yep, I did the same thing. I was
yeah.
July. You were just a couple weeks ahead of me.
Will
Yeah.
did the same. I
So,
think he was out in May, I think. Yeah.
yeah, so it was just one of those things where everything was skyrocketing and growing. We started hiring more people. I had, I think at the first point, it was like two assistants. And then I started having all these agents come to me that I knew and was friends with that were like, how are you doing this? Like, you're hitting not just like the top 100, but you're in like the top 30 out of my host that at that point I think was like six or 7,000. Like, they're like,
Amazing.
how are you doing this while working less? Because I'd be like, yeah, I'm working about 20 hours a week right now.
Mhm.
And they were all like, "What?" So then everybody started asking me to help them find an assistant and train an assistant. And they're like, "Oh, what systems do you use?" And so I was like doing some of that, but it wasn't sustainable for how many people kept like talking to me because then that friend would be like, "Oh yeah, Mary Beth helped me do this." And then everybody's asking.
Yeah.
So they kept kind of being like, "Well, would you just like do a course or do something?" And so in 2021, I was like, "Okay, I will start working on something." To be honest, I wasn't very excited. Excited isn't even the right word. Didn't I didn't think it was that much of a need, to be honest. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, some people need this, but like it's not that big of a deal, so like whatever. So I started putting stuff together. I honestly spent a year on it because I was literally going through and
It's
evaluating everything that we do in our
I'm surprised it
business.
was only a year, honestly. And
Well,
just because I've seen the content and I know how thorough it is, that's amazing to me that you did it in under a year.
but remember, I didn't do it all. I would go do the stuff and then my assistants would do it. I'd be
Mhm.
like, here's the slides, they look
Practice what
like
you
crap.
preach.
Make it
Yeah.
look good. So
Practice what you preach.
yeah. So, a year in, it actually was like end of February, beginning of March. So I had already had plans for my first master class to be in, I think it was supposed to be like mid-March 2023.
Mhm.
And I had the slides, I was almost ready, and then I think it honestly was like the week after Will passed away. There was an agent in the playbook group that posted that like she really needed an assistant and if anybody had time to talk. And obviously I knew that like people like you, Ashley, like people were kind of reeling at that point. And the playbook has given so much to me and I think other agents that we all want to give back to others in the community because it's so tight and there's just that element of like, let me share everything I can with you because the people in that community share everything they can with us. So it's not oh, I'm like giving you secrets. It's like, no, I want to like help you because you've helped me kind of deal.
Community over competition.
Yeah, exactly. And so I had replied to the girl and was like, "Hey, I can absolutely jump on a Zoom call with you and talk with you. I have these assistants, like these are the things they do for me." And then like 20 agents or something were commenting like, "Can I join the call too? Can I join the call too?" And
That's
I
when you know
remember
you have something.
I remember being like, "What?" Like I don't know. I might have texted you, Ashley. I think I texted
I think you
someone
did.
and just said, "Hey, I feel bad because like I'm not trying to do anything, but they all are asking, do you think it's gonna be okay if I do this?" Like, well, Mario will be upset, and I wasn't gonna obviously ask you at that point because you had everything you were dealing with. And I think Ashley was like, "Yeah, like absolutely. You're just helping people."
Mm.
So that tiny group of like playbook people all got to have the very first, it was like pre-masterclass because there were still things I changed afterwards. But so I did the masterclass, and then in March we were gonna do three of them, but we only did two because so many people attended and wanted more. So the masterclass really walks agents through how to hire an assistant, what an assistant can do, how to find one, and how to afford an assistant. Because most people think of an assistant as an expense, but it's not. It's an investment into your business and growth into yourself.
100%.
It's
And
it's just something you don't real like you can do it all. You are one human and there are only so many hours in the day. And I wish people, you're exactly right. People see it as an expense and not an investment. But if they see it as an investment, if you don't eventually plan to bring someone on board and help you, then you are limiting your growth potential. You are getting in your own way. It's not that you don't have enough clients. It's not that, there aren't enough people out there that want to travel. You can't, it's not a sustainable business to just have it be based on you and you only, because you're a human being and you can only do so much in a day, and you're going to have things that come up where you need help.
Yep.
exactly,
Mhm.
like I can't say it better than that because it's not possible. Like we are limited by 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And if we don't have help, we will max out, slash, we may burn out because we're going to spend all of our time doing the tasks that aren't our like zone of genius. They aren't the things that make us come alive, that we love. And instead, we spend our whole day processing payments. Like I was telling Ashley earlier, my assistant yesterday processed 36 people onto a private catamaran and processed all those payments and did invoices. That's hours of time
Yep.
that I
Mhm.
didn't have to spend, and instead I can go do what I'm best at and what only I can do in my business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that term zone of genius. Like that's if you are able to focus and operate your time on the things that you know that you're good at, the things that you know that first of all just bring that fire in you and get you excited because that's what gets you through every day of grinding through this, right? And then also, that's you're being the most efficient that you can be within your company doing those things. And if you have someone else who can handle the other things and is, even better if they're passionate about the other things, then hey, by all means, go do it. I've got people on my team who are passionate about having a flexible schedule. And so I provide them with a flexible schedule. They deal with the things that I, don't have time to deal with, don't want to deal with, things like that, that keeps the business moving. And I think that's so important to have those dynamics within your company. All right. So Mary Beth, that's you actually now have your two businesses, right? So you have the travel business and then you have assistants that work. So tell us a little bit about how you got into assistants that work and what that's all about.
Because she wasn't
So,
busy enough going from 80 hours a week to 40 hours a week with just the agency. Now she's adding a whole second business, but I have
That's
a feeling she
another
learned a
business.
lot about how to manage her time.
yeah. So, yeah, by the time ATW came, thankfully I was down to like 20 hours a week. But because I had gotten down to so few hours and I was like winning like top agent awards and all this stuff, agents kept being like, "Can you help me? Like, I need an assistant. I'm drowning. I'm working 50, 60 plus hours a week." And so I started helping agents that I was friends with hire an assistant, put systems in place, that kind of thing. But I couldn't do that for everyone. And people started being like, "Well, can you make a course for us? Like, we'll do a course." And I wasn't really interested at first. I was like, "No, I don't want to do a course. Like, that's never been my thing. Like, I like learning, but I don't know that I want to be teaching
Of course,
someone."
sounds like a lot of work.
Oh my God, who would do such a thing? Well, there
So,
was also the timing of this too, I think is important for context, because it was a little bit post pandemic when it felt like everybody and their mother was starting a course, because that's rightfully so how they were trying to like diversify their income. We all learned a big lesson during the pandemic of,
it's not safe to just rely on commissions. There have to be other ways of, shoring up your business and your finances. So
Yep.
there was a period of time where like everyone was launching a course, and some of them have stuck around, some of them haven't. And you were kind of, I'm sure you had feelings about that when people asked you to do a course. You were just seeing all these other people do it, some successfully, some not, and I'm sure that played into it too.
Yeah, I was like, I don't really want to be that. Like, because for me, I had been growing, so like I grew by 28% in 2020. I grew by 200% in 2021 and then 2022 again. And
Big
so
numbers.
I didn't need to like do a course to like supplement my income. So I was like, I don't really like I was liking my life. I was working 20 hours a week. So
Well,
like
yeah, 20 hours a week and still growing 200%. Like that's the dream.
yeah. So, but I also started seeing that like it was people that I personally cared about that were needing help, and I love helping people. I mean, I think it's why we probably all are in the travel industry in some way, shape, or form. And so, um, people kept asking, and I was like, okay, I guess I'll start one. So in 2022, I started working on it. I spent a year like going over everything that I had done, and really putting it all together so that it would be like not just, hey, here's some things you should do, but like, here's exactly what I did to make this work. Here's the exact systems. Here's how we do things. Because that's something that like Will did in Destination Wedding University. It's literally exactly what he does. And that's why it's such a valuable program, and why like when I invested in it, I was like, this is amazing because I learned systems and all the different things that Will did from start to finish. So in that year that I was building it, now I was not making the slides. My assistants did all that good stuff. I was just like,
Practice
here you
what you
go,
preach.
like make it
Yeah.
look good. But they like in 2023, it was actually a couple years at, or not a couple years, gosh, a couple weeks after Will passed away, there was an agent in the playbook community that posted about the fact that she really needed an assistant and needed help, and asked if anybody could talk with her. And I want to say she even said something about like, I'd ask Will, but obviously can't, kind of thing. And I just replied and was like, yeah, I absolutely can hop on a call with you. I have a couple assistants, like very brief. And I said, I'm more than happy to like get on a Zoom and help you. And then all these other agents started commenting, and they were like, I want to join. I want to join. And I remember
I have a
asking
thing.
Ashley, like, do you think it's okay if I do this? Because I'm not trying to like do anything. I'm literally just trying to help because all these people have helped me. And you obviously were very occupied. And Ashley was like, yeah, go for it. It's like, okay.
That's
So,
that's the whole premise
Community
that
over competition. I think we're going to say the same thing, of course.
yeah. So then at that point, I had been also building like a free masterclass, because ultimately, like, my heart with all of this is that like it changed my life and saved my life, honestly. And I know now, I didn't realize it as much back then, that there's way more agents in the spot I was than I think we even talk about in the industry. I think it's kind of like a silent, deadly killer. And we almost wear it as a badge of honor that we're so busy but winning awards and stuff.
Always. I was actually going to bring that up if you didn't. Like that is something I think is a really bad place to get into. When you are bragging, "Oh, I'm so busy. Oh, I work 80 hours a week. Oh, I missed dinner with my family. Oh, I worked this entire vacation." That's not good. That's not something to wear as a badge of honor. That's a sign that something's about to really spiral out of control.
Yeah.
absolutely.
It's also why, like, in Assistants at Work, if people are in our program, we created the Real Vacation Award. And literally, they have to not be texting clients, they are not emailing, they're not talking to clients. There's a whole list of stuff
I
that they
love
have to
that.
do to qualify. And then we will gladly mail them an award, because that's a huge accomplishment.
It
Most people
is.
are terrified of doing that, but it's so important and healthy for us.
Mary Beth, have you submitted assistants that work to, this is me going like off on a tangent. Have you submitted assistants that work to like a Magellan or to the Travies or
Yeah,
things like that?
you need to.
Uh, Nikki Miller, I think, nominated me for the Travies or whatever.
It's
Um,
so a lot of those have it's things that help shape, like it's programs that help shape the industry. That right there, the vacation, take a real vacation award is a
Mhm.
huge thing. I think you, if you haven't been nominated, then I will go ahead and nominate you for that as well. That's because
Yeah.
that's it's a huge game changer.
It deserves the recognition too, because I think, and generationally, we're kind of seeing that shift too. I think our parents and grandparents like did have this like, oh, I work so hard mentality. And not to say that people now don't work hard, but my wedding couples that are like, elder millennials, Gen Z, like coming in, they don't see it the same way. They're like, my work and personal life are very separate, and I want to keep them separate. I don't need to work 80 hours a week to be happy or be fulfilled or be successful. So you're doing this as coming at a time when there's almost like a generational shift too. And not only do we need to do that for ourselves, we have clients now that recognize it. So what better time to make some of these changes?
Yeah. So what was crazy is when I did the first masterclass, it was literally the Life Changing Assistance Masterclass just for like 20 DWU people, or there might have been more. I don't remember how many were on it. But then in March, so that was like end of February. In March, I was hosting two master classes, and Lori Gold actually reached out to me and asked if she could officially host them. So we had like 600 people go through the master class, and I was like, what the heck? That many people need an assistant? I'm shocked.
They do.
Yeah, they
Well,
do.
I think it's people, what you're doing is it's not just recognizing the need. I think anybody who does this for more than a year or two realizes like, oh my gosh, I'm going to need help. What's awesome about your program is you tell people how to do it. Like how many times have we seen someone say, oh, I know I need assistant, but what does your assistant do? How, like
Yes.
what do they do? How much do you pay them? I don't even know where to start. And your program is super cool because it is very hands-on and instructional. It's not like this concept of, oh, you need to hire help. It's here's how to find the person. Here are the tasks that you should be having them do. Here, I love that you do the math behind it to see like what is your time worth as an owner and what's kind of below your pay grade and what you shouldn't be doing. Like you have a really like data-based approach to it. And so if anyone is listening to this and thinking like, well, yeah, obviously I need help, but how do I get there? They should call you because you're going to tell them exactly how to do it.
Yeah. So, I mean, because the reality is, if you get to that point, you don't have time to figure it out yourself, which is why most people don't take any steps forward. Like, I didn't know how to make a job description back when I hired my first assistant. So, like, we give people a job description that is tailored to a assistant for travel, and we're
Mhm.
like, just personalize it. Change like the 5 or 6 things. Here's all the tasks your assistant should be completing for you in your travel business, kind of thing. Because it's just time consuming. And after the first two master classes, we had 100 people go through our program and sign
Amazing.
up. And then we were like, oh, this is like a thing.
There's something here. We should keep doing this.
Yeah. And it was funny because I wasn't mad about it, isn't the right word, but I was kind of just like, oh, another thing. Because I had just gotten down to the 20 hours a week. And I was like, well, this is going to put me back up to 40 for sure.
Yep.
So we immediately hired another team member, and started like growing and putting in more master classes and stuff like that. And the cool thing too is that because my husband was like, well, he works with me now, but he was the vice president of IT for one of the top 10 ticket companies in the nation. So, like, all of the tech we teach and talk about is not normal travel agent world tech. It's not VCRM and like the stuff that people are using. It's all like more business related tech and like more um streamlining, like, oh gosh, the freaking balloon.
Listen,
The
listen,
balloon.
Zoom is very excited about this tech. Very excited.
It's all
I
the
just
stuff
don't
that
know why it happens. Like if you're not watching the random assortment of balloons that Zoom just decided to put on Mary Beth's face was the highlight of my day.
We
Happy
love
birthday.
we love our partners at Spotify and Apple Music and whatnot, but how you should be watching this on YouTube because it's most of the hilarity comes from things like that, or the way
You
my
never know
face
what's gonna happen.
sense.
yeah.
But that's
So,
Random balloons. It's all good.
but because all of that's built in with it, like he helped me plan and design all of that, and he teaches that portion of it. I think that that does what you're talking about, actually. It does literally give you a true path forward so that you're not figuring it out. It's why when we take people through the program, everybody keeps telling me like make it evergreen and just like, whatever, but the whole point of this is that you're overwhelmed and you don't have time.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that's why, like, yes, we have a self-paced option, but we also want you to join us for 2 days where we sit with you from 9 to 5, go through the material, and have co-working sessions where I'm answering your questions as you're working on your job description or as you're making your training library, like those types of things, because that actually helps you get it done. Like we just finished this week with a bunch of agents that went through, and literally most of them only have left like personalizing their training library
Mhm.
and then they're ready to hire. So in like two
Awesome.
days, they're pretty much there. And they all know at this point the type of assistant they're going to hire because there's way more than just like an assistant. There's where do you get the assistant? What type of assistant? What are the legal ramifications of that type of assistant? All of those kinds of things so that you actually get someone that fits your business.
Yeah. And it's a hard because, just because you are interested in travel and want to work in travel and want to sell travel, scandalous statement, but that doesn't mean you're ready to be a business owner. You
Nope.
know what I mean? There's the selling travel job, and then there is owning a business. And it's hard if you haven't had any kind of corporate background with HR and writing job descriptions, hiring people. We're expected to wear so many hats. You have to be your own IT person, your own HR person, your own accountant, your own, marketer. Like there's all these things. And so I love that there's these programs now that are helping people think like a business owner, not just a travel agent. Like, cause it's not enough just to sell travel. If you want to have a successful agency, you have to invest in training yourself on how to be a business owner too.
We took
Exactly.
we took a little break earlier, and we had turned off the recording for a second. But there was one thing that came out of that I should learn to never turn off the recording. It's I was telling Mary Beth about it's my past life, my past careers, and I say careers not just advertising, but the careers that came before that. Literally, there are pieces from every single one of those that made it possible for me to step into this position today. And you do have to have that experience in order to run an efficient agency, because there's so, just like you said, Ashley, there's so many elements of what you need to do on a daily basis, and you need to be able to shift on
Yeah.
the fly to make.
Or Or maybe you discover through this process that that's not you. And that is
Yep.
perfectly fine. There are so many opportunities to work in travel, to just work in travel and not be an owner. Like
Mhm.
there are. And I've had this conversation with a few people lately where they've come to me and said, I don't know if I'm cut out for this. It's just too hard. And I've had to ask, like, well, what do you like about your job? Well, I like working with clients and I like booking travel. Okay, well, go do that. Like, but go do that on a salary for someone else. Like, free yourself of the things that you don't enjoy doing. If you don't enjoy hiring or marketing or, accounting, that's all part of owning the business. That's not part of working in travel. And I think sometimes we have to separate ourselves from that and really be honest with ourselves about what we enjoy about the job and then just focus on those things.
So this whole conversation actually kind of leads into my next question. So Mary Beth, if you were a brand new travel agent that you're starting your business today, that's how would you build your business, and what would you prioritize first from that?
So there's some of it is just how my mind thinks. So some of it I wouldn't really change what I did, honestly, because I cared a lot about systems even from the very beginning. Like I remember learning that a CRM could automate things in like year one, and I went like bonkers on automating everything I could
It's life
because I was
changing.
like, this is incredible. And
Yep.
um, so that part, 100%, it's all about systems and automation and setting those up when you have time, because once you have clients that are already booked and are starting to travel, you don't have time to go backwards. It's impossible practically. I mean, it's not, but it's so much harder. I think the other thing that I would do differently is I would recognize, it's almost exactly what Ashley said. I'd recognize that if I'm going to have a travel agency and be an independent contractor, so if I'm an IC, whether I'm an IC under Ashley or I'm an IC under a host agency or any of those things, an independent contractor is a business owner. They are
Yes.
independent, they are not employees. So
Mhm.
I would recognize that from the beginning and realize, oh, this is more than just selling travel. If I'm going to go the IC route, I'm a business owner. So that means I need to plan on either capping my volume because I don't want to have help, or I need to know that at some point I could grow to the point of needing an assistant and not waiting until it's too late, because I used to live under this do everything travel agent mindset. And it was honestly horrible because I thought that it was all on me, and I got some validation out of it personally because it feels nice to feel needed and like you're
Ooh,
cool.
that's getting
And
deep, Mary Beth. But it's true. Like sometimes we feel like we need to do everything because that's what makes us feel valuable.
yeah. And then I finally, like, after that night on the couch, I realized, no, like, I need to do the things that only I can do in my business, the things that are money generating. So things like the marketing pieces that we do, things like consultations with clients, but I can't do that if I'm spending 4 hours every morning in my email because
Yep.
that's what I used to do. It used to take me 3 to 4 hours to get through the email and be ready to go for the day. Now with like our double inbox method and my assistants, I get through my email in about 15 to 20 minutes every morning and I'm done. But I had to come to terms with the fact that like that wasn't something only I could do. Someone else could help me and I could review it because I was afraid of losing control. I'm a control freak. I think a lot of agents are control freaks.
It's why we're good at what we do too, because we're detail oriented and we notice the little things. It's a double-edged sword for
Yeah.
sure.
But I had to adopt this mindset that I talk with people about all the time of review instead of do. I can let someone else draft a response to one of my brides, and that draft might have taken me 15 or 20 minutes. They can spend 20, 30 minutes on it, and I can spend 2 minutes reviewing it, making a few small edits, and sending it.
And then you're spending the other 18 minutes that you would have spent doing something that makes money.
Yeah.
Talking to a new client, following up with a new client that needs to pay your fee. Like it's life-changing when you start to think about it that way.
Yeah. I've done the math and broken down. Okay, let's say it's just 10. Now, this is me doing math in my head, not with my slides, guys, so I'm going to screw the math up. But if you were doing that and it's just like, I think my math is based on 20 emails a week that needed to be drafted, it came out to like 2.3 hours of time per week that I was spending drafting emails. Where
Wow.
instead I can pay someone else do that and I can spend, I want to say I estimated that it would take me 3 minutes per email to review and make one or two small changes, hit respond, but I got back essentially over 2 hours every single week. Well, I can have two consultations, and even if I'm like not a great closer and I close 50% of those, that more than pays for the time to have an assistant help me.
Absolutely.
Bingo.
Absolutely. It's,
So,
I think one of the most interesting things that you said there, the review instead of do. So I do things in our business, I do things a little bit backwards, but I think it's actually still along the same lines. I am a bit of a control freak. I am a perfectionist and I do not like things going not my way. Right. That's our email drafts I do ahead of time. So I have canned response, this situation, canned response, this situation. And my team has access to all of those where it's, if we need to respond to this is exactly how we respond to it. Plug and play the information that you need to run with it, and I don't need to review it and be done.
so
It's
we have all of those.
mhm.
And actually, do you have a system you use them in, or you just have them in a Google Doc?
Oh, that's adorable. No, that's
That's
just Google. That's
text plays. Text
I,
plays.
no, no, no.
Oh wow.
Sorry,
What's better?
Ashley. Type
teach
Desk
us
is even better.
What does
what
Type Desk do that Text Plays doesn't do?
It is way more user friendly if you have assistance.
Oh, I'm looking. Well, okay. So for anyone listening who's like, what the heck just happened? What are you talking about? Text Blaze and Type Desk are tools, they're text expanders. So you can, if there's a phrase that you type over and over and over and over and over, like we all do in this business, you can save that phrase and then you use a little short code and you insert that short code and it expands the text to your little blurb. So if there's something that you write over and over, like an invoice header, tips on booking air, how to find your transportation at the airport, those questions we answer over and over, you just save it once and then use the text expander to insert it anywhere you need it. And TextBlaze is one that I have used in the past. Mary Beth is telling me there's something better called Type Desk, and I literally have it open in the other window because I
We've
can't wait to figure this out. I'm like, I
we've
need to
done
know about
text
this.
plays, but I think Type Desk is better with a team personally. But you'll have to try it, Ashley, and tell me what you think. So
Well, it's either way, whatever tool you use, like that's kind of our whole philosophy within the playbook is it doesn't matter what tool you use, the concept of what you're doing is what's important. You're finding something that saves time for repeated tasks,
yeah.
like things you do over and over, finding a way to save time. But it helped me when I first brought help on board. One of my control issue things that we're talking about here is I want her to say it how I would say it. Well, what better way to do that than to make a template and she knows the situation that it applies to and she just pops in that template, replies as me, and then it's done while I'm having a consult or following up with someone or doing something that's more profitable to the business.
Sexy systems. It's what we
Yep.
always
Yeah,
say.
man.
Yeah.
Now I'm
Because
so
with
curious.
that, like what you're saying, Ashley, like we have so many emails that come in like that, like, can I drink the water in Mexico? That is pre-written and my assistant sends it and I don't even review it. The only stuff she's reviewing is like the crazy clients, let's be real, the crazy ones where they're like, and what about this? And what about this? And what about this? With like the 50 questions.
Yeah.
And you're like, thanks.
Mhm.
But it's in some people, I know there is at least one person that's listening to this and they're thinking, oh, well, that's not how I run my business. Like I got into this to help people. I want to be hands-on. I want to have a personal relationship with my client. I know someone's thinking that and they're hearing all this automation and thinking, well, that's just not how I do things. I'm telling you right now, I'm just going to say it. That is an outdated way of thinking. And again, you are limiting your growth potential because you can still build a very personal one-on-one relationship with your client. You're automating these little ankle biter things so you have time to do the bigger relationship building things. You can't spend 30 minutes on the phone getting to know your client and talking about their likes, their needs, and their kids and what their kids do for fun and all these things to build that relationship if you've got to spend 3 hours a day writing emails. Like you just can't.
So just a
Yep.
personal testimonial from Sexy Systems. It's, we build these automations in place. We put them there for this reason, so we don't have to be involved in those things. This Destination Weddings Expert is a 5-star company in our review system. And I guarantee 95% of our, 5-star reviews are the communication that we have with our clients. Now, don't get me wrong, Nikki is a huge part of that. Nikki responds to our clients on a regular basis. She makes sure that, a lot of that conversation is happening. However, there's a really good amount of that as well. That is our system responding to them and making sure that they have the answers that they need and making sure they're prepared for travel. That is all out there. It's, running for us. And that makes, a huge difference when it comes to efficiency.
Yeah. So, Mary Beth, I'm going to take a turn for a minute in these questions. Because you've introduced yourself, you've given us your background, which is amazing. We've talked about your 2 businesses. Obviously, you are doing all these things to give yourself more work-life balance, if that's even a thing. I kind of believe that's a misnomer, but if that's a thing, you're doing it so you can free up time to focus on the things you love, right? Like you want to do the things that you are the most excited about. So, do you still book travel? And if you do, what are your favorite type of trips to book?
Yes, I still love booking travel, but I love being able to pick the clients that I work with personally.
Mhm.
And I don't have to do everyone, which is great. And I also love, I love booking tropical, freaking balloons again. They hate me. It must be like, it's your birthday. We're just gonna randomly send you balloons on the screen.
Exactly.
So,
I love
um,
it.
but I love booking tropical destinations because I personally love them and I love relaxing. So I love being able to help our clients go to those destinations, but not have to do the parts of servicing the booking I don't like
Right.
the invoices and, the making sure that they have the record locators checked before they go, that kind of thing. So it's really fun because I actually get to do the parts of travel that I love all the time. I probably spend over 80% of my time doing the things that only I can do in the businesses and the things I love. There's very little that I work on each day that I don't enjoy, which is really fun.
I
Absolutely.
like that.
That's
What do
amazing.
you say then to the agent that comes to you? And I've been with you in person and seen this happen like in real time. What about the person that says, like, I just don't trust anyone? I just don't trust anyone to do these things. I'm the only one that can do these things.
So the reality of that is that you may be, but like you've said earlier, you're stunting your growth. If you want to continue growing, that's impossible because you have a finite amount of time. And on top of that, the reality is that there's literally, like when we take people through our program, that's probably one of their biggest objections. We talk about what's the one thing that you're most afraid of letting someone else do? And we literally sit down and work with them on how can you review instead of do this so you're still in control.
Mhm.
And it is 100% possible. I have not come across anything where I'm like, yep, there's no way to have an assistant help you with that, where you're losing control and where you can't trust someone. And frankly, if you're anywhere like I was, you're going to end up making a mistake if you're just doing it all by yourself and working too much. I did. My biggest mistake is honestly very embarrassing. I booked a entire group of people on a cruise out of Puerto Rico, and somebody had a name change at the last minute because they gave me Candy as their name. I even asked if it was correct. Apparently it's Candace. So
Mhm.
we have to redo all the flights. Well, I accidentally picked the wrong dates on the flights. I had them flying home from Puerto Rico a day before the cruise ship got in. So that was sucky. And it never would have happened if I had an assistant because somebody else would have also had eyes on it and looked at it, but I ended up having to put like $4,000 on my credit card to fix it. The clients never knew. Thankfully, I did an E&O claim, but like that sucked and that was on me. So I think we can think that only we can do it and we can't trust someone else, but honestly, that tends to be our pride. And I think the best way to grow in life, let alone business, is honestly having some humility to realize like we are not in control of everything, and when we have the humility to recognize that, like, we're not the best at everything, it actually allows us to grow so much more.
It's everything you just said. Oh, it's so good.
On
And
that,
it's also, that's like an ego check thing too, not to get too deep back into the therapy conversation, but it's like there is no successful business person on this planet that does it alone. No, show me one person that doesn't have help, that's booking in any industry, that's, at the top of their game in any industry. Everyone has help. And the sooner you let go of that feeling that you're the best. I mean, really, you can't be the best at everything. None of us can. Yeah, like, so the sooner you let go of that, the more free you'll be, and you'll probably watch your business take off.
absolutely. Absolutely. So I guess, Mary Beth, the question I have is now, so you've learned all these lessons. You are, you have an amazing team built behind you. You have these two businesses that are just both doing phenomenally. Where do you see yourself going from here?
Uh, that's a great question. Sometimes in life you are like, man, I honestly I never saw being where I am right now. Okay, like the okay, we're gonna get real again. Gosh. Okay.
Do it.
It
Do it.
happens. People come here and we end up talking about all kinds of things.
Take a sip and let the story come. That's
Yeah,
it.
the original plan was that um I was going to be in travel and I wanted to work 20, 30 hours a week, and we wanted to have kids, and I wanted to be the like stay-at-home mom with like something fun that I got to do on the side.
Mhm.
And life doesn't always go like we think. So like having kids just didn't happen. And so that means that life is different than I anticipated. But also better than I anticipated in some different ways. Because I think the thing that's been the most impactful is recognizing that by having assistance, I'm getting a quality of life. My clients get a higher level of service because they're not dependent on me. There's a team to support them in case something would happen to me, and a team of people that know what's going on and care about my clients just as much as I do. But even more importantly, and the thing that I never envisioned, was this double impact that this has on someone else in the world. So, like, Camille was one of our first hires. She's been with me forever. People that know me, like, know so much about Camille because I talk about her 24/7. I'm like, Camille this, Camille that. And when she first started working for me, I was like, this is gonna be great. It's gonna help me. But I honestly had a selfish view of what an assistant was going to do in my life and didn't recognize that this had the potential to completely change someone else's life. And so, after she had been with me a few months, I learned that Camille's from the Philippines. She was living 2 hours each direction from where her baby was. Celine was less than a year old when Camille started working for me.
Wow.
So she would see Celine 1 day a week before she worked for me, and Celine would cry and want her aunt because her aunt was the one taking care of her, and she thought her aunt was her mom. Heartbreaking. Like, as an American, I just can't imagine a world I would live in where my only option is to have a job 2 hours away from my child. And keep in mind, like, this is happening at the same time that I'm going through, like, oh, we may not be able to have kids and like all of those things. So seeing the impact that it was having on another child and another mom somewhere in the world, that it was literally changing their complete lives, was insane. And I remember like I would like cry about it and be like, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe that while yes, I don't have a child, I'm getting to help someone actually be with their child that exists. Like, I'm sad for myself and I don't even have one. How much sadder was Camille that she wasn't with her daughter every day? And so seeing that then led to this, like, years ago, this dream of like, man, I would love to like just help 10 people in the Philippines have a job and be able
Mm.
to spend time with their family because of my business. And then after that, then it led to, after Assistance at Work started, it was like this crazy snowball effect of like, oh wow, maybe God wants it to be bigger than these 10 people that I want to help, and maybe other agents are going to help other people. And that led to this crazy journey of realizing, like, okay, well, if we're going to talk about this, yes, I have a US assistant, but I also have people overseas. I now recently have somebody that's from Mexico. Like, we have the ability with our businesses to impact so many people in so many different places in the world and be able to ethically employ them and pay them in a way that they aren't even able to be paid in their own country and change their lives. And so that led to us actually finding like a partner in the Philippines that ethically employs people. They're the second highest paying assistant company in the country. The only one that's higher paying is honestly a horrible place to work, and most of their people come from there because they hate their jobs. Like, one of them left after a year at that other company because she was so depressed from
Oh,
working
that's
in that
horrible.
environment. Like, heartbreaking stuff. But then what's been so cool is seeing that the agents that have gone through, whether they've hired overseas or hired in the US, they're getting their lives back. But like Melissa, who's in the playbook, she has an assistant that got to quit a job she hated in the US and
Mm.
now is working for her part time. And it's a huge deal for her and her family. We've had stories of one of the assistants in the Philippines, because of her job, was able to buy her first home, and she's in her 30s because of it. Somebody at Christmas, their agent gave them a bonus and they bought their first stove for their house. One of the assistants, her story was so cool to hear. She was able to, for the first time, go out to eat with her family. She was like, before this job, we couldn't even afford to take our kids to McDonald's,
Oh my gosh.
but we can go out to eat a couple times a month now. And just stuff like that where you're like, whoa, like this is like heavy and powerful and is like changing, truly changing lives, and not just our lives, but these people's lives. And so in January this year, we actually were invited to come to the Philippines and train the assistants that work for our clients in person. And so I got to meet so many of them in person and hear their stories. And like, I think I've told Ashley this, like, I honestly cried every single day I was there because I just couldn't believe the impact that we have the potential to make in another country. But the most important part is that we don't contribute to the problem. So there's all these things that these people are coming from in the corporate world there that's like very unhealthy and I think is personally wrong. So the most important thing is like we need to ethically employ them. We should not be hiring somebody overseas that is getting paid less than they should, that's not a livable wage or is even comparable to what they can get there. We should be doing better than what's happening in their country. And the cool thing is the dollar has the power to go further. It's just like when we go to an all-inclusive in Mexico, like obviously there's none in the US because it would be too costly. No one could afford it. The few that are like
Yeah.
10K or something. So the ability for our business to impact and change someone else's life overseas is amazing. Like the first, when we were there in January, I got to fly Camille in and her daughter and meet them in person. And like she actually shared her experience and did some of the training with the assistants. every single person in the room cried.
Oh, wow.
I kid you not, every single assistant was in tears, not because they were sad, but because they all had experienced the exact same things that Camille had experienced in their own version of their story.
Yep.
And so that trip honestly changed my life, and it changed Robbie's life and so many things. Like before I would have said, oh, if I could be anywhere in the world and live somewhere, it would be Mexico, hands down. Now I'm like, can I live in Mexico half the year and the Philippines half the year? Like I don't think I can pick anymore. Um, but because of that, like as we've talked and thought and prayed, we're just like, you know what? Like we it seems really big, and sometimes when I say it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to just shut my mouth and not dream this big. But we would love to see someday like 5,000 people have a job. And I don't care if they're in the Philippines or the US, wherever, but like 5,000 people have a job that they wouldn't have had otherwise. Because people realize that they could actually have an assistant and the impact it could have on two different lives.
So on that same note, now that's I want to take that to another place. Tell me about getting to that 5,000 person number. It's Tell us about the new launch of Assistants at Work and what your goals are and how to get people involved in it, because this is going to help spread that story and create that, bring those numbers to fruition that we really want to see.
She's going to have to hire a lot more assistants.
Yeah, Mario, you want to hire another one?
I'm in.
You ready?
You sold.
What we do is that we go through cohorts essentially. So literally this week we finished ATW 4.0 cohort. So the next group of master classes, we always do master classes before the cohort, because the master class is really all about helping people regardless of whether they want to work with us or not. Because I literally came home from the Lomas appreciation thing that Ashley and I were at together. I met an agent in the car that I had said nothing about assistants or anything. We're talking, and all of a sudden she stops and she goes, "Wait, you're the assistant girl." And I was like, I didn't know that was my title, but yeah, sure. Yeah, that's me. She was like, "I was on your master class in April, and it helped me realize that I could actually hire an assistant." And she said, "I've hired one. It's totally impacted my business and my life. Like, I can't thank you enough because I actually went and did it." And so, like, I don't even care if people do it because they work with us and go through our whole program. I just want people to do it so they get their lives back and it impacts someone else. So, the master classes are like one of the best things because it's free and it's 2 hours, and like it is like jam-packed full of information. Because we want to help as many people as possible. So that's probably the easiest place for people to start. The next, we do them live, and the next one I think is scheduled for, I can give you the dates to put in the show notes and stuff. But the next one is either end of April or very beginning of May. And then we always then have within a month or two, like about a month after that, we have our next cohort go through. And so people can sign up and they can go through the program by themselves, self-paced with the recordings. Immediately, we had somebody in January do it self-paced, and she went through everything in 2 days.
Oh, wow.
3 weeks later, she hired her assistant from overseas with our partners, and then had somebody in place in like less than a month, which has been awesome and super cool. But so that's kind of like step two. If they really want the support and the extra help and to see everything, then people can go through the program with us, and they can do it self-paced or live with us in June.
Isn't it amazing to see people's different working styles? Like it's one thing I've learned in the university is like we have an evergreen version that lives out there and it's recorded and it has all Will's lessons in it, and that's amazing, and they're still able to get all of the same lessons. I've had some of those people, the evergreen people, who just plow through all the lessons and they start implementing immediately, and it's amazing to watch. And then there's some people that just thrive off of that live interaction, that need, they need to be there and with the person and doing it right in that moment. And not that either one is right or wrong, but it's super interesting to me to see how different people thrive.
Yeah. And it's just different learning styles. Like that person was able to do it very easily on their own. But this week we had a bunch of agents that they were like, I never would have done all of this without being here and not done it so fast. If they did do it, would have taken them 6 months or something.
Mhm. Absolutely.
It's and let's not forget too, it's not that you're changing your own life by getting your own life back. You're impacting someone else's life, you know, by bringing them into your business and, you know, giving them employment that they maybe wouldn't have otherwise. But don't forget that you're also helping a lot more people go on vacation. And that is a noble cause too. Well, because it is, you're helping with destination weddings that are like lifelong memories. You're able to take on more weddings and help more people, more family vacations, more holiday vacations. Like it's, we let's not forget that that is why we are here, to help people have those memories and maybe do something that they wouldn't feel comfortable doing on their own. Like it just frees up our time to not only change our own lives, but to help all of our clients. You know, it's just that, I don't think we can understate that enough. Like it just allows us to help more people too. And that's why I love that your whole approach to this is, how can I help and impact more people in the world? And that's something we all have the power to do. Oh,
Absolutely.
such a good one. Okay, I'm going to ask a nosy question. I saw your mantra bands on, and I know one of them, your bracelets.
Yep.
Yeah, one we have is the same because we all have our will one. What are your other two? What did they say?
So I have Do It Scared. I have one that says Thrive, Steward, and With God.
I like
So
that.
every year I get a new one. And it's just kind of based on like what I feel like my word for that year is supposed to be.
Yeah, I like that. I have four. I have my will one and I have a few others, and I don't have anything on today, but I love those bracelets and they're good reminders. You can just like look down and see them and it's great.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I
exactly.
wear mine every day, does not come off. It's always there.
See, if I'm not, you're more graceful than me. Something would get lost or broken. I'm too clumsy. So
You know damn well I'm not graceful. I'm just lucky that nothing's happened yet. That's it's
oh my gosh. Well, this has been, I feel like we've had like ups and downs, and this conversation has gone all over the place, like deep and, you know, everything else. It's been such a good conversation. And it's even made me think, you know, I have a full-time office manager, a part-time assistant who's overseas. That's how we've been able to grow our business. We're about ready to hire another, which I need to talk to you about, Mary Beth. That's something I want to talk to you about too. But I can't imagine life without it. And I know Mario feels the same way with his team. Like
absolutely.
it is just life changing once it doesn't all fall on you. Like just that emotional release of, it's not just me. I have help. I have someone who can help me. That alone is life changing.
Totally. It is.
Okay.
So, Mary Beth, before we do the big plug at the end, we'll Jack. Before we do the big plug at the end and talk about just kind of a recap, one of the things that we'd like to do is something we call the lightning round, where we ask you a couple questions. We want you to just come up with the first thing that comes to mind and
Okay.
your answer.
Don't
And
overthink it.
don't
Okay.
overthink it. It ends up being hilarious. So I'm going to run through a couple questions and give me your answers. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So number one, if you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Oh man, I kind of
She
already
kind of
said
said
that.
that.
It would have been Mexico forever, and now it would be Mexico and the Philippines. So I'll just do 6 months in each.
I love it. Philippines, honestly, I want to eat my way through the Philippines.
Yeah.
So when you're ready to go, I'm in. Let's do it. It's
We're going in April with a group of people next year.
it's next year. Oh, I'm in. Done.
Yeah.
It's
I was like, April's like next week, but I'm
yeah,
interested. Next year, that's a whole different story.
Yeah.
absolutely. Ashley, you want number two?
Uh, I do, because that's my favorite. What's your favorite swear word, Mary Beth?
Shit.
Yeah,
Hands down.
Nice. Nice.
that's a good one. It
It's
can
the
be
one
used
I
for so
always
many
just, it's
things.
like my go-to.
So now along the same line of questioning, but in a different context, what is your least favorite word?
I honestly think it would have to be like snakes because
Oh,
I hate them and they terrify me.
okay.
Will, just
Will.
put that in your mouth.
Yep. Yep. No, that was Will coming through on this podcast. That's yeah. That's
You didn't like snakes?
oh no. It's if you've never seen my husband react to a snake, it is the most hilarious and heartbreaking thing that you've ever seen. Because
You couldn't
you
even
can't
say the word.
say the word.
That's
It
funny.
was yeah. It's we ended up so we live in South Florida. For those listeners that don't know, I live in South Florida, and my yard, we get snakes from time to time. I had to pay a company who told me to my face that they will not guarantee that we won't have snakes. But I had to pay hundreds of dollars a month for snake prevention just so that he felt better about going into our yard. It was really, I loved it.
He got mad at me once for using the snake emoji. Like, and he was serious. I thought it was like a joke thing. He was like, don't ever send me that again. Like, so we'll put that in your mouth. That's a good one.
That's awesome.
Ashley, next one.
Oh, sorry. I should pay attention. What's your love language? I'm positive you know this because you're a big reader, and I know you've invested so much time into your relationships too. So I'm sure you have this pinned down.
Yep, my love language is definitely acts of service.
Yep.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yep.
That tracks. That's
Awesome.
a good one.
What turns you off?
Dumb, like just stupid things when people like aren't willing to get out of their own way to like see the truth. I'm
Honest. I
sorry.
like
That's
it.
just
I'm
Sounded
sure.
like
honest and
that.
harsh.
Well, and that's what makes you so good at what you're doing because you've probably heard every objection there is. Like you've heard everything, and now you know how to find the logic with someone and get over that, which is going to be a good skill for you. What's your favorite hotel?
So I'm gonna answer it because I could answer it from the standpoint of like, oh, what's like the coolest place I've been? Coolest hotel totally would be somewhere in the Philippines we just were and stuff like that. But like home is the Hyatt Zilara Cancun because we've been over 19 or
Like
20
live there.
times. We
Yeah.
went for our honeymoon and we are friends with all the staff. So like we go back multiple times a year to see them. I think I've only landed in Cancun and not stayed there for a minimum of one night, at least only two times. Because if
Wow.
I'm going, I go for a night so I can see all my friends.
I have a couple right now that's debating between another hotel and Hyatt Ziva Cancun, or sorry, Hyatt Ziva Cap Cana.
Mm.
And they're just doing everything they can to get there. Anyways, not a whole plug, but yes, very interesting. It's a great brand. Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Thank you very much.
Hmm.
Cocktail of choice.
Vodka soda with it needs to be Tito's and it needs to have two limes, not one, but two.
That's a
Okay,
good one.
thank you very much. So I just need a little note on this. My cocktail choice is a vodka martini that's Belvedere, but 3 olives.
Belvedere's good
I'm
too.
very particular about the number of condiments that go into my drinks. Anyways,
Your salad.
yeah,
Is
yeah.
Oh, inappropriate, but isn't that called stripper salad? Like all of your garnish. I had to bring something inappropriate into this. Mary Beth is too good. She puts me on my best behavior.
You even swear in this episode? I feel like that's
I feel like we didn't. It's
I
Mary
said
Beth's
shit.
presence. Oh, she did. Yeah, Mary Beth did. I think she's the only one that's going to get us our explicit on this one.
well, fucking. Then what is the biggest? What is the biggest travel mistake that you've made for yourself, Mary Beth?
Like, is in for clients or for myself?
Well, for yourself.
Oh, okay. For myself, one time I didn't have a transfer booked.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. I think we've
Yep.
all done that.
That'll
Yep.
cost you.
Yep.
I honestly, I have so many trips coming up. I don't know that I have flights for all the trips. I really need to go check it out.
Or your assistant could do that for you.
Ah.
It's true though. She's
I
not.
just sent mine an email yesterday, said this can be done after on Monday, but I was like, I can't remember if I have hotels for this whole trip coming up to IADWP when I'm there because I'm speaking there, and I don't remember if the two pre-nights are like part of me speaking there and they're booked, or if I have to find a hotel. So I sent her an email. I was like, I don't know if I have a hotel. Can you check that? Let me know.
But what a good example of how this affects all parts of your life. Like some people might say, oh, that's a personal thing. That's not a business thing. That is 100% a business thing because you're going there to speak. Even if you weren't speaking, it's a conference for you to learn and be educated on something and network. That is 100% a business related thing. These are things, the different types of assistants, because you said there's different types, like someone in this more like admin assistant role, they can absolutely go through your emails and see if you have a hotel booked. That's not something that you need to spend your time doing.
Nope.
It's
And even the personal stuff, the top business people in the country all have their assistants helping with personal things because they understand the value of their time is so much more than having like it is not worth their time to go look up a flight or to go do X or Y, Z because they can do something that is worth significantly more value and move their business forward.
Yeah, it's such a valuable lesson to, like quick personal story because I'm going through this week. personal thing, we have an Airstream, we have an RV, we're trading it in for a bigger one because we're sick of crawling over each other when we sleep at night, but it's a personal thing. We're trading it in. The new one's in North Carolina. I have to get the old one to North Carolina to trade it in. That when you tow an RV, you can't drive as fast, so it takes longer. So the whole trip there and back, taking the old one and bringing the new one home would be 7 days. That's 7 days out of my life that I can't have consults, I can't meet with clients, I can't work with new couples because I'm physically driving to North Carolina and doing this. Like, yes, I could take vacation time. And because I've built my business in a way, I have support to do that. But I also just found out I could pay a guy to drive the old one to North Carolina for me. It was $1,500. It wasn't cheap, but $1,500 for 3 days. It shaves 3 days off our trip. If I
What was
have
the
him
consult?
drive the one, it's a no brainer. I told Mario, I
Oh,
was
one
like,
trip,
yeah,
one
that's
wedding.
one wedding, one consult, even just the fee from my consult would cover that. And so
Exactly.
freeing up the time, that's a perfect example of your time is valuable. I don't need to be, would it be fun? Yes. Would I love driving and having all the time in the world to do that? Maybe someday when I'm retired, like that's something I can do. But having him just do that one way, yes, I spent money, but if I had 3 consults in the 3 days he was driving this week. If I book all 3 of those, that's potentially like $75,000 of 3 weddings once you count the commission. That's 100% worth it. And that's how you should think about hiring an assistant too. Like you're investing money, but look at what you can do in the meantime. So we keep blending our lightning round with other stuff, but it's just so relevant.
Right.
What's on your bucket list, Mary Beth?
Uh, we are trying to go to every single island, like that's in the
In the
Caribbean.
world?
No,
Oh.
in the Caribbean.
Oh,
Not that big. Not that cool on the goals. But
you
like
have
it
big
does
goals.
like
You're 5,000 people. That's a big goal. You very well could go to every island. And I would bet on you that you would do it. I would be cheering for you.
so not like every single island in the Bahamas, but we want to hit all the countries.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love that. How far are you on do you know how far
I
you
think
are on
we're
your
at like
podcast?
17 or 18 right now. We're
Well, I
not
mean,
like
that's
uber far, but we've like made a dent.
way
Good.
farther than me. I love that. That's amazing. It's amazing. All right. Well, Mary Beth, thank you so much for joining us today. This was honestly a phenomenal conversation. I hope that everyone has a chance to listen to the entire conversation because it's a couple minutes long. But it is such an important one and one that I speak for Ashley and I both here where I say it's something that's near and dear to our hearts and something that has made our businesses so much better and so much more efficient. So thank you very much for joining us today. And
Thank you.
it's if for those agents that are out there, playbook or not, that are looking to hire an assistant, tell us a little bit about where they can find you.
So probably the easiest thing is they can just go to assistantsthatwork.com, and if they like have questions, anything like that, there's a form on the front page that also will send them. Gonna be real, I didn't set it up. So I don't remember if it sends them our 7 tech tools or if it sends 4 steps to hiring because someone on the team did all of this. But it does send them something cool. And we also do have a Facebook group that's Life Changing Assistance. And that is also a great place because we put all kinds of stuff in there. We have some things that you only can get there that are free and stuff like that.
Amazing.
Your website looks amazing. You've done stuff to this since I've looked at it.
Yeah, so Robbie got to we hired someone recently. It was between me getting a person and Robbie. Robbie got to have the person, very much well deserved. And so this person is specializes in technology, and in 1 week he built us a brand new website.
That's
Wow,
amazing.
that's
Yeah.
amazing.
And
Yep.
it looks fantastic. Oh,
A
and you
new
have so many
website.
good testimony. Oh, there's Casey. I love seeing all of our playbook people out in the wild. Like it's just amazing when
Yeah.
it's just everything that this little family has accomplished in the last 5 years and it keeps growing. It's just awesome
Yeah.
to see.
Can I say one last thing?
Please.
Okay. So the one thing that I would say to anyone, whether it's like related to do I want to do destination weddings, do I want to hire an assistant, any of those things, is that when all of this started and ATW started and stuff, I remember I think I text Ashley or Megan, I text someone and I literally was like, I'm literally in my head over and over hearing Will say, just do it scared. because I remember being like, I can't do this. Like, why would I do this? Why would people listen to me? Like, all of those things. And then I just had to be like, no, like, you have to own the things that you're good at. And Will was huge at doing that. And I honestly think both of you are really good at doing that as well. Because you each bring different things to the table and have your strengths and you play into them. But the reality is, like, being in the travel industry, we have to move forward with whatever is our next step, whether it's starting to do weddings, whether it's pivoting our business, hiring someone. And a lot of times we're never going to feel ready. So we do just have to do it scared.
Absolutely.
You always get me in the feels. Mary Beth is the best cheerleader. If anyone listening needs a pep talk, let me tell you, that's what you should hire out. You should do like cameos of pep talks for people.
Oh my God. Yes. She makes
because she's
fortune.
so good at it. And it's so sincere. And she's always made me feel amazing. And I'm just very happy that we get to call you a friend. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. It's been so fun.
Absolutely. We are so blessed just to see this community as a whole grow, to see you grow. We're thrilled about everything that you're doing in the industry. If anyone who's listened to this episode knows that Mary Beth's goals are big, and we are all here to support you to get there. So it's Mary Beth, thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you for taking the time, and we'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Running a travel business may have its challenges, but with a dash of humor, the right tools, an amazing community, and a lot of wine, success awaits us all. Raise a glass with us and toast to your remarkable journey.
Don't forget, if you're ready to take the next step in your travel career, one where you can focus on developing your niche, attracting leads, converting them into new clients, and automating your systems, you can build the business of your dreams. If you're ready, join us in the Playbook Inner Circle at jointheplaybook.com. We can't wait to see you inside.